remarks, objections, proposals, anything else on our agenda today? No? So we consider our agenda adopted. And before starting seriously the conference with the first session, we'd like you to see our video of presentation.
Ce este țara? Țara este un pământ, un loc pe care îl porți în suflet toată viața, un destin cu care ai fost binecuvântat la naștere. Țara, ca și mama, sunt de genul feminin, de aceea le iubim pe amândouă din tot sufletul nostru. Am câteva minute să te învăț despre țara mea, casa mea, despre România mea. E locul unde m-am născut, locul unde străbunii mei și-au dat viața pentru independența și libertatea noastră. Și după multe veacuri, acum 100 de ani, în anul 1918, ne-am făcut o casa noastră, România. Eram noi, românii, uniți pe harta unui continent măreț, Europa. La început păream singuri, noi și eroii noștri. Însă apoi, eroii mei au devenit și eroi tăi, eroi Europei. Unirea a fost sute de ani în inimile românilor, pentru că ne era dor de o țară noastră, mare și rotundă ca o pâine coaptă. Dor e un cuvânt pe care nu îl știi, pentru că el nu se traduce în nicio limbă. Dorul e doar al nostru. E mai mult decât iubire, mai mult decât dragoste. În dor sunt amestecate sentimente de bucurie, tristețe, melancolie, patimă sau nostalgie. Dacă dorul nostru nu ar dura atât de tare, nici iubirea nu ar fi atât de mare. Dor. Sunt doar 3 litere. D. Ca un curcubeu întins peste timp și timpuri. O. Uimirea cea dintâi a copilului. Oful durerilor și a răzvrătirilor. R. E rotund și statornic. R vine de la România. În dor, noi trăim valoarea eternă a iubirii. Îl învățăm literă cu literă, bătaia inimii după bătaia inimii, până la infinit. Și de asta ne-a fost atât de simplu să-l construim în formă de coloană. Și uite așa brâncușa nostru te-a învățat cum arată sărutul și zborul măiastrei. Cu Tristan Țara, lumea cea cu susul în jos a dadaismului a început să-ți placă și ai zâmbit. Iar cu Enescu te-am purtat drept prin inima noastră. Nu știai prea multe despre noi, însă ai pornit în zbor alături de voia și coandă peste toată întinderea care ne cuprinde. Și totul român de-al nostru, Titulescu, a vegheat la pacea lumii din poziția sa de președinte al Ligii Națiunilor. Erau începuturile țării mele și ale unei Europe venită după Marele Război. Acum când încep să mă cunoști, nu e așa că vrei să afli mai multe despre noi? Simți că dorul începe să fie și al tău, așa cum Europa e acasă pentru noi. O casă, mare cât cerul albastru al Europei, în care am adunat îndrăzneală și vise, energie și emoție, cât să spună lumii despre noi pentru încă 100 de ani. Am construit noi forme ale infinitului, care se leagă cu infinitul de pretutindeni. Din lada de zeste a străbunicii am îmbrăcat o cămașă pe care noi o numim Ie. Cu ea îmi port trecutul și construiesc viitorul, iar viitorul meu e despre lege, demnitate, libertate, democrație și drepturile omului. Depinde de mine și de tine, de noi și de voi, de felul în care ne strângem cu toții, ca o apă cât Dunărea, cât Marea cea Mare. Cred că acum simți că dorul începe să fie și al tău, așa cum Europa este și casa mea. Suntem împreună. Acum, mâine, întotdeauna, Tu și eu, noi, cei noi.
A very dreamy video of presentation. We are more active usually. Before the entering of the Deputy Prime Minister to introduce the priorities of Romanian presidency, we have to stress an issue. As a national parliament, we've been deeply involved in drafting and finally voting the priorities. We've had different stages. Firstly, we've picked up proposals from all political groups, not only from the majority supporting the government. We discussed in our committees those proposals, and after we sent our proposal to the government. Then the government came, the Minister for European Affairs, and discussed with us in a joint committee meeting every point. And finally, the Prime Minister came twice to the Parliament. Once early in May or early June to introduce the draft priorities, and then after as well discussing with our colleagues within the Parliament, the Prime Minister came in December for getting our support. And we gave our support to the priorities. Now it's 10 o'clock, I suppose. The Deputy Prime Minister would enter. Now, we have 1 minute to introduce to you our presidency priorities. I have to express as well the apologies of the Prime Minister. She was at the beginning on our draft program, but she has a very important commitment abroad, and appointed the Deputy Prime Minister to come in order to introduce the priorities. She enter because it's 10 o'clock. You could breathe just a moment. And for this session, I change with my colleague Angel Tulver. He would chair the session.
Thank you very much, Gabi. I want to make profit of this short period until the Vice Prime Minister will come, and because I met last evening and I see in the plenary session of the Senate friends of ours from the diplomatic missions, I want to thank them all, because during the period when we prepared the presidency, they responded our invitations to dialogue and to share opinions and experience, and this was extremely helpful. So allow me, in the name of the COSAC meeting of today, to thank them for being so supportive for the Romanian presidency. At the same time, as last evening was mentioned in the Troika discussions, and I want to thank my colleagues from Austria and from Finland for their constructive approach of last evening meeting. One of the discussions was based on the idea of public consultations, and due to the fact that on Tuesday last week we had an interesting meeting with the ambassadors of the European countries ambassadors in Bucharest, one of the questions was if we had public consultations before working upon the priorities of the Romanian presidency. And I want to share with you the info that before working upon this presidency, the Ministry of European Affairs organized all over Romania in different regions public meetings. Some of them I was happy to host one of them in my constituency. And some of them involved discussion based on different themes. Others had as the format collecting the ideas, the suggestions, and the problems that the citizens had, because finally we have to serve our citizens. So as far as this dimension is concerned, it was in a way well dealt with. I also want to thank and to appreciate the fact that during working upon the priorities, we were helped and we were supported and we made benefit of the experience of many institutions, both European and national. And now I think our colleague entered, and let me, for the first part of the discussion, to introduce, our former colleague at the European Affairs Committee. She served as a chair for a period of time. Now she is Vice Prime Minister for Romanian Strategic Partnership Implementation. And I would like to propose you that she may address us for 50 minutes. Then I invite you, according to the procedure that Gabi has explained, to mention to the Secretariat if you want to have intervention, and then to allow Ms. Vice Prime Minister to have final remarks and to give answers to the questions you might have according to her presentation. I think you all agree this format, and I want to give the floor to Ms. Ann Bircel, Vice Prime Minister for Romanian Strategic Partnerships Implementation. You have the floor. You may use the microphone. Thank you.
Mulțumesc mult, domnule președinte.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Dear friends, I should say, as is the first time we meet in this format, please allow me to wish you and to your families and loved ones a great 2019. And I should mention that the words are not strong enough to express the emotion of being here with you. This format always been very dear to me, and I'm very happy to see so many faces dear to my heart in the room, that we've been working very closely together for so many years. Stimate domnule președinte Angel Tâlvăr, stimată doamnă președintă Gabriela Crețu, distinși invitați, doamnelor și domnilor, am deosebită onoare de a participa astăzi la reuniunea conferinței organelor parlamentare
special COSAC conference on the issues of European affairs, to convey to you the address of the Prime Minister of Romania and the government of Romania with respect to the priorities of Romanian presidency of the European Council. I fully appreciate the role of the parliamentarian dimension of the Romanian presidency, and I am very happy to be present in this event, which opens the activities taking place in the parliamentarian dimension of our mandate. As a former chairperson of the European Affairs Committee in our Parliament, and now as Vice Prime Minister, I have always said that Parliament should be essential and be involved in the implementation of the mandate of as a Romanian presidency. the mandate of President of the European Council. I'm also very glad to meet again with members of the COSAC with whom I've been working throughout this time. 3 weeks ago, I took over as a premier the rotational presidency, and I'm fully convinced that our presidency will be incremental in defining the European project in the future years. I know that our project is essential in ensuring the continuation of the European agenda at a crossroads, which is also difficult for all of us, with large-scale projects that will reshape the European Union, marked by the future elections of the European Parliament, which will influence not only the course but also the dynamics of the Romanian presidency of the European Council, as well as the future institutional council of the European Union as a whole. What we want is to work constructively to progress the legislative agenda as full as possible during the first months of mandate, while ensuring cohesion and continuity in the EU. In our activity, we will maintain an impartial approach, an honest broker approach, to identify consensual solutions aimed at advancing the European agenda. We feel that the only credible answer in face of all the challenges is strengthening the European project, and the main object of our presidency, as supported by the Romanian Prime Minister and the government of Romania, is to contribute to a more united and more cohesive Europe. And that is an objective that is reflected in our motto, cohesion, a shared European value. In our vision, this is the way forward for the European project, and we appreciate that we need to understand and promote cohesion based on 3 important dimensions. Firstly, to consolidate the political action that will support us re-establish the connection between the member states, the European institutions, and the European citizens. Therefore, we are looking at cohesion not only as a shared European value, but also as the expression of the unity amongst the states and the regions in the EU. At the same time, the economic dimension of cohesion is a catalyst in bridging the development gaps amongst the member states and amongst the regions, and in a way to strengthen the internal market. We were looking at the economic cohesion from the prospect of new EU members, such as Romania. For Romania, its full integration into the single market is essential, so that its benefits can be reaped by all its citizens. Last but not least, cohesion needs to be understood and promoted given its social dimension. It must be understood given the mandatory social cohesion and the preservation of all 4 fundamental freedoms of the EU. Given this cohesion paradigm, the priorities of our presidency were circumscribed under 4 main pillars of action. First, Europe of Convergency Europe, Safety Europe. Third, Europe as a global actor. And fourth, the Europe of shared common values. Given the first pillar, the Europe of Convergence, the main goals of the Romanian presidency, while assuming the rotational presidency, aim at promoting economic and social cohesion, improving the operation of the single market, and increasing the general overall competitiveness of the EU economy. We feel that a cohesive Europe may only rely on equal and fair opportunities granted to social actors and economic actors, granted to citizens and the private economic environment, and to that effect, the Union should make use of all the instruments it has available. A second central goal for our presidency will be to further the negotiation process concerning the multi-annual financial framework 2021-2027. The future MFF will play an important role in supplying the financial means and instruments to ensure the convergence goals or objectives and to manage current goals having to do with the cohesion policy and the CAP, Common Agricultural Policy, as well as funds for research and innovation. In the area of competitiveness, the Romanian presidency will aim at increasing the single digital market and the 4 fundamental freedoms, while ensuring at the same time the need to have it as a priority on the European agenda. This perspective focused on the future in this field. Safeguarding a powerful industrial base will also be amongst the priorities of the Romanian presidency, as it is a first and paramount condition to ensure competitiveness of European economy, as well as creating jobs and economic convergence. At the same time, better commitment of capitals for companies in Europe, as well as for SMEs, and structural proposals for the capital markets are key objectives to increase EU competitiveness. This is also a key component and goal given the global competitiveness having to do with products, services and talents. In the area of employment, the Romanian presidency will focus on more training while implementing the European Pillar for Social Rights by providing safe and fair working conditions, by improving working conditions, and by protecting workers against the factors that may harm their health and safety in providing and ensuring gender equality. Promoting and securing gender equality is also an important topic for us. Furthering negotiations concerning the European Labour Authority and the strengthening of social security case files are essential. Europe must be better in the area of innovation, and it can only be secured if we have the adequate and appropriate financial framework and funds supporting research throughout the Union, not only in a few centers. And that will be how Europe Digital Project and Horizon 2020 programs will be used, so that EU can play an important role. And we need to invest in research and innovation, improvement and development when these are missing, when we want to improve functional links and ties between north and south and east and west. Thus, people in Europe will have more and better access to resources, European competitiveness will be increased, and macro regions in Europe will be further development, and it will also advance European Union interconnectivity. Climate change and sustainable development are also important fields for Romanian presidency, contributing to reshaping EU shared vision in the area of climate change and decreasing gas emissions in transports are two key priorities of Romanian presidency at the European Council. We will also focus on legislative priorities connected to improving water safety standards, and we will also take advantage of the biodiversity advantages at European national level. At the same time, the Romanian presidency will follow closely in the EU the stage and the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Given the second pillar, the Europe of Safety, or the Safe Europe, the Romanian presidency will focus on defining the Union answers towards a whole array of challenges to security. The issue of migration will be a topical aspect during our presidency. We want to turn into action a comprehensive approach on migration, and that would lead or result in the sustainable development of this phenomenon. The Romanian presidency will support the efforts to implement, or where the case may be, follow up on the implementation of the Council conclusions regarding external migration. EU action in terms of radicalization, terrorism and cybersecurity will increase the internal security in the EU for the benefit of the EU member states and for Europe as a whole. The real challenge is to build the required capacity to prevent and to address these threats. The Romanian presidency intends to promote two initiatives in terms of police cooperation aimed at increasing cooperation amongst EU member states in internal affairs. EU border security is one of the best guarantees for the efficient operation of the area of free circulation, and each member state should implement at the highest level the rules provided in the European legislation. The Romanian presidency will continue to work in the direction of furthering key initiatives in the field, whereas efforts will be channeled to increase cooperation and the capacity to cooperate at European level, cooperation amongst the national specific systems, and will also focus on the security of citizens, companies, and states in the virtual area, and as a whole to increase the resilience of the Union when faced with cyber attacks. In the framework of the third pillar, Europe as a global actor, to provide efficient action, Romania will support the High Representative in implementing the goals of the EU foreign and security policy. When it comes to the implementation of the initiatives under the edges of the common foreign and security policy, efforts will focus mainly in the area of developing defensive capacities of the EU, in conditions of complementarity and in a strengthened partnership with NATO. Providing consistency or providing the adequate consistency of European action in the eastern neighborhood will benefit of a favorable context in the first semester of 2019, when we will celebrate 10 years since the launch of the Eastern Partnership and 5 years since the conclusion of the first association agreements. Romania will cooperate with the European institutions, the member states and the European partners to celebrate this symbolic context and to share the specific effects for the citizens referring to the Eastern Partnership. The EU action on the Western Balkans will be one of Romania's priorities, given that this region is of strategic interest for the European Union. On this occasion, let me welcome the representatives from Albania, Montenegro, Serbia and Fyrom. Romania will also support EU commitments in the international arena. We will work to promote commercial interests, the upgrading of the commercial system, and enlarge the free trade agreements. Given the fourth pillar, the Europe of shared values, the Romanian presidency aims at strengthening the cohesion policy.
A democratic union, a balanced union, and equitable and tolerable, it's the fundament of the entire European project. In the same time, the advancement of the European project has to be assured through a unitary approach open to all member states. We cannot have divisions within the European Union, and this is a key message in order to reconfirm the trust for the citizens regarding the future European project. As rotating presidency, we will take into account supported action in order to protect the free elections in EU. Regarding the most important priorities in our mandate, aim to finalize the legislative regarding the infringement of personal data regarding the elections in May this year, the advancement of the discussions regarding a better communication within the European Union, and to discuss about the lack of information. It's a renewable effort regarding the efforts of communication, especially for this perspective. has been modified essentially regarding the initial moments of the creation of the European Union. In this regard, we will need a new narration and a tight collaboration with the European young people. The approach of gender equality is also an important factor in order to have a balanced and inclusive growth. During our mandate, we will focus on the promotion of the European initiatives, tackling the increase of the presence of women on labor market and to improve the balance, work-life balance, also for men and women. The social development has to advance together with the economical development. The Romanian presidency will continue the efforts in order to extend the opportunities for educational mobility and for learning for all young people, and also to assure access to all the measures of social protection for all categories of workers, freelancers or other type of workers. The equal access to opportunities to assure an appropriate protection, social protection, are the basis of a cohesive society in the entire Union. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, taking into account the current challenges and the dynamic of the European project, we express a firm commitment in order to act in the sense of the European Commission and unity, cohesion and unity, and to advance the European agenda in the context of the final mandate of the European Parliament and after of the European Commission. We will follow to act in a constructive way, in an impartial way and open to cooperation in order to fulfill all these objectives. During our mandate, we will be permanently guided by the objective of a stronger union, a more cohesive and closer to its citizens, and we will give all our efforts in order to define the actions of the European Union for the next years. I wish that the mandate of Romania to mean the consolidation of European Union, of pluralism, of lack of discrimination, of tolerance and solidarity. I am convinced that only united we are stronger, and we can face the challenges that we have today. Only together we can guarantee a better future, a European future for us and for our children. European Union has to remain a real common aim for the citizens of the European Union. Thank you very much for the honor of addressing you today, and I wish you fructuous debates, and I remain at your disposal for any type of questions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Also, distinguished colleagues, we start now the debates or the presentations that you have during the plenary session of COSAC. I just want to mention the fact that have registered 18 speakers. You know that every time during our sessions has been the desire to have enough time, allowing an exhaustive approach, if I can say, of the topic that each of us has wanted to present. Having 18 speakers, I think we can take into account 3 minutes for each speaker, but for this I need your plenary approval. Is there somebody considering that 3 minutes are not enough for a speaker? So we consider 3 minutes, and if we exceed with some minutes, we will I will give from my time and from the time of my colleague Mrs. Crețu at the end of our union, in order to finish in time and to be able to listen to all of you, because it is important for us to do so. For the beginning, I invite to take the floor Mr. Václav Havel from the Senate of Czech Republic. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. It's an honor to start this part of our discussions. I only have a very small issue relative to all the big agendas of the presidency, including handling the Brexit and handling the EU elections, as I already commented briefly in the previous part of our meeting. What I wanted to say is a relatively small thing, and I apologize to you, colleagues, that I maybe look sometimes a little bit obsessive with the agenda of subsidiarity. I am going to talk about subsidiarity. In the communication on subsidiarity, the Commission states that it will explore with the Council and the European Parliament the possibility of excluding Christmas and New Year period from the subsidiarity check deadline, as COSAC has been requesting for many years. I would like to inform you that the Czech Senate is going to ask our government to propose at the Council that the Council expressly agrees with excluding this period. I would like to ask the Romanian presidency to support at the Council this initiative for this rather small, technical, but very useful change. I think that together with the European Parliament's Rangel report adopted at the plenary, this would provide a sufficient basis for the Commission to execute this procedural change pretty soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Lord Whitty, House of Lords, UK.
Thank you, Chairman. Two expressions of regret. Firstly, that my colleague Lord Boswell, a long attendee here, is not able to be here, and also Bill Cash from the House of Commons. Bill Cash is, of course, involved in some rather important votes in the House of Commons today. And my other regret is really that the Romanian presidency will have on its plate the whole issue of Brexit and of the United Kingdom leaving the EU on the 29th of March. The situation in Britain is very confused. You will know that Mrs May's defeat in the House of Commons meant that we had rejected the withdrawal treaty and the political declaration as it stands at the moment. She then received the vote of confidence of the House and therefore is coming back today with her Plan B. Nobody is entirely clear what was going to be within that Plan B, and there are a number of other options which will be discussed. It is not clear what will happen in the United Kingdom, but there are two possible options which are gaining some support. One, as other colleagues remarked to me last night, is the call for a second referendum. That support is growing, but it is not likely to be a winner today. The second issue is a possible extension of the Article 50 process. We recognise there are difficulties on the European side, given the European elections and so forth. But I would ask colleagues here who have any influence with their government, if there is a request from the UK government for an extension of Article 50 process, to treat it sympathetically as far as we can. As far as the UK's view on Europe is concerned, not only do we wish to continue to be present here in some capacity at COSAC, and I'm sure I reflect Lord Boswell and Bill Cash's view, despite their differing views on Brexit, that this has been a very useful forum for us to be involved in. And more broadly, the kind of agenda which was just explained for the Romanian presidency are key to British interests, whether we are members of the European Union or not. We are all concerned with an outcome of this Brexit process which leaves the UK fully involved with issues of security, with broad issues of international trade and economic prosperity, and with the respective rights of our citizens and our workers. That will not change, but I hope to ask you for some understanding if some flexibility is needed in order to have an agreed outcome to Brexit and not a conflict or a no-deal situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we give the floor to Ms. Maria Triantafilou, Hellenic Parliament. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks Romania for hospitality. When we talk about a safer Europe today, we need to focus on two main points: the migration issue and the fight against terrorism. European policies must focus on effectively combating illegal immigration networks and at the same time to find policies that will foster smooth and legal migration within European countries. At the same time, with all efforts, our efforts, we should try to address the causes that led to immigration, such as regional wars, economic inequality, and conflicts. As regards to the fight against terrorism, we must emphasize that effective cooperation between countries and the strengthening of security systems are important elements in the fight against terrorism. Terrorism, however, is a complex issue, and repressive mechanics are not enough. It takes a more general approach that will ensure interregional cooperation and look for the underlying causes of the terrorist threat. Thank you.
Thank you, dear colleague. And let me give the floor to Mr. Adrian Vuksanovic, Parliament of Montenegro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of European Integration Committee of the Parliament of Montenegro, I would like to emphasize that Montenegro strongly and warmly welcomes priorities of the Romanian presidency, especially promotion enlargement policy that was mentioned. I am glad to hear that EU realizes that enlargement policy may contribute to Europe as a stronger global actor. The EU membership is our most important strategic goal, and after NATO membership, the only one that have to be achieved. We conclude 2018 with 32 opened and 3 temporarily closed chapters. Within 2019, we expect to achieve measures for closing some of the chapters and to open remaining. We will continue to make efforts with parliamentary diplomacy to ensure more support and more trust in order to be as ready as possible to compete with member states in the sense of growing economy, democracy, rule of law, and other important issues. We believe that EU membership should depend on the individual achievements of the country because we are on different stage on our EU path and have different challenges and our own political or strategic goals. With that respect, we took into consideration all guidelines set out within resolution of the European Parliament from November last year, and during this year we will accomplish all measures in order to achieve our goals and contribute to our democratic process. The EU membership is not a goal as itself. We rather want EU integration process helps us to build the security society with economic growth and social stability decent to live in. Thank you for your attention, and I would like to thank our hosts and wish them a fruitful and successful work in forthcoming 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, and we appreciate your encouragement and your support. Now let me give the floor to Mr. Nikolaos Tornaritis, House of Representatives, Cyprus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, we welcome all priorities set as they aim to touch upon some of the major challenges the European Union is currently facing. Ensuring security is currently perhaps the greatest challenge for all European countries. For Cyprus, security constitutes a major concern and the highest priority as long as a just and viable settlement of the Cyprus problem in line with international law and pertinent UN resolutions is not achieved. The European Union has contributed actively to UN efforts to end the long-standing unacceptable status quo and the de facto division of Cyprus, and it is of crucial importance to add its political weight for a successful outcome in the coming months. After all, the Cyprus problem, it's a European problem, and solving this problem would contribute to a stronger and safer Europe. A solution of the Cyprus problem will mark the effective restoration of Cyprus and therefore European Union sovereignty in the Eastern Mediterranean and ensure the European standards of security and cooperation among all parties involved. Cyprus, at the southeastern end of Europe, serving as a bridge between Europe and the Middle East, plays a stabilizing role in the Eastern Mediterranean region. Going beyond issues of foreign policy and acknowledging the importance of increased cooperation with the countries in the Mediterranean basin, Cyprus engages in a trilateral cooperation patterns with Greece, Egypt, Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, and maybe very soon with Romania, aiming at serving wider common goals like energy security and diversification for energy sources and routes, which will enhance stability, peace, and prosperity in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. Now let me give the floor to the representative of National Assembly of Hungary, Mr. Richard Horčík. Thank you.
Thank you, the floor, Mr. Chairman. Dear Madam Vice Prime Minister, dear Anna, first of all, I would like to thank you very much for putting the convergence and security to the top of your presidency priorities. Mr. Chairman, I find cohesion policy and common agriculture policy as the main tool for reducing economic and social disparities between Eastern and Western, Northern and Southern of the European Union member states. The so-called long-term objective of real convergence should be underpinned by the next MFF. New challenges shouldn't require the unjustified cuts of traditional policies, but a better balanced priorities and a targeted increase of revenues. Mr. Chairman, on security, I want to thank the efforts of our Austrian friends, the previous presidency, regarding the initiatives on cooperation with the third countries to reduce migration flows and facilitate readmissions. As before, Hungary considers external border protections as the cornerstone of the fight against illegal migration and a so-called lucrative channel of human traffickers. The future of our Union is surrounded by the set of uncertainties, as our English colleague just mentioned, both politically and institutionally as well. In this regard, we expect clear vision about the way forward from the informal European Council in Nagyszeben, Sibiu or Hermannstadt in the next May. I call for the equal treatment and a better respect of national identities and the historic characteristic of all member states. I'm looking forward to composition of a new European Parliament after May, which should better represent the will of the European citizens in, for instance, key areas starting from the migration, free movement of persons, or the respect of the Christian traditions. Furthermore, Mr. Chairman, I'm eager to know in which capacity the United Kingdom delegation can attend our plenary meeting in June. Before closing, I express my thanks for the current presidency to keep the European Union perspective of all Western Balkan countries on the European agenda. This integration process should be further strengthened and bilateral tensions should be required. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now we give the floor to Mr. Aaron Ferrugia, House of Representatives, Malta.
Thank you, Chair. I share the views by the Deputy Prime Minister in her speech, and I support the Presidency's priorities pointing towards a more ambitious European Union with the central theme of cohesion. However, I'm afraid that there is no consensus about this. While we meet here today, the principles, the values, the fundamentals of the European Union are being questioned, are being put to the test. You can easily picture the struggle between those pushing for a federal Europe and those pushing for less powers to the European Union institutions. We disagree on security, migration, taxation, deeper union and a monetary and economic union. We disagree about the Spitzenkandidaten, the climate change, and many more. The Commission's white paper, presented by EU Commission President Juncker, points towards a white paper on the future of Europe. There are 5 alternatives, 5 possible paths, which we should pick and choose. I hope this is a good opportunity for the summit in Sibiu to find tangible results. The current political environment calls for a new era that is less romantic about the European Union, perhaps more pragmatic. This is not the European Union of Spinelli, Schuman, and De Gasperi anymore. That is why the sooner we agree on a common path, a common vision, a common destination, I would say, the sooner we can face the many challenges we have in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. And let me give the floor to Ms. Ivana Nikolic from the National Assembly of Serbia.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, allow me to thank the Chair on behalf of the European Integration Committee of the National Assembly of the Republic of Serbia for the invitation and express my satisfaction that we participate again in the Conference of the European Affairs Committees of the European Union Member States, in the belief that we will maintain the continuity of good relations, mutual cooperation and support to the Republic of Serbia's path towards the EU membership. On behalf of my colleagues, I may reiterate the Republic of Serbia's strong commitment to the membership in the European Union, its devotion to reform processes and to the alignment of its legislation with the EU acquis, and the contribution Serbia gives to existing EU initiatives, policies and missions of the European Union. We are convinced that the integration of the Western Balkans contributes to peace and security, but also to prosperity, and that the solidarity principle is crucial for the enlargement policy development. We know that the deadline for ending the negotiations does not exist, and it depends on the progress to each country individually. In 2018, we opened 4 chapters, even though we hope we would manage to open more. The total number of open negotiating chapters is 16 now, and we hope that we will continue with the faster dynamics in the upcoming period. The Republic of Serbia actively endeavors to contribute to the continued aspiration of the Union and the Member States to ensure greater stability in the immediate neighborhood. And we are convinced that it's necessary in the regard to offer an unambiguous perspective of actions to the countries of the Western Balkans. On the other hand, we invite you to take as urgent and active participation as possible in the dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina that has been blocked due to the unilateral introduction of a 100% tax of goods from Central Serbia, which also violates the CEFTA and Stabilization and Association Agreement, we are confident that the latest activities of Pristina to transform the Kosovo security forces into the Kosovo army will not contribute to regional peace and stability and are not in agreement with the values promoted by the European Union. We expect a more concrete and more efficient involvement of the European Union in solving this problem, because such moves are undermining the multi-ethnic principle of peace and stability in the region. I want to thank all our European partners and the EU presidency for the support we receive, and we are convinced that we shall work even better and stronger in the upcoming period in order to become part of the European family of nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague, and let me give the floor to Ms. Jogoda Szachpanska, FIROM, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First, allow me to extend my congratulations on your first Romanian presidency of the Council of the European Union and wish you a successful realization of your goals and the common priorities that guarantee a strong and stable European Union. Romania takes over the presidency of the Council in extremely important times for the EU member states, but also for the Republic of Macedonia, which expects to get date to start EU membership talks this year. I believe that the anticipated challenges for the Union, including the European elections to be held in May this year, will not affect the enlargement process, which is of exceptional importance for my country. Last year was historical for us. Macedonia has taken brave historic steps. We finally overcome the dispute with the Republic of Greece, due to which we were in the waiting room of the European Union for years. We have completed the first phase of the implementation of the Prespa Agreement, that is the implementation of the constitutional changes. At the same time, we signed the Treaty of Friendship, Good Neighborliness and Cooperation with the Republic of Bulgaria, which confirmed our commitment to foster good neighborly relations with all our neighbors, a precondition for prosperity and development. This is a clear indication that we, as a country, are fully committed to implementing our strategic priority, which is a membership in the EU and NATO. I believe that the EU member states, under the chairmanship of Romania of the Council of the EU, will be our partners in this process. In the reform process, the government also focuses on the 4 key reforms areas listed in the Council conclusions on June 2018. These are the judiciary, the fight against corruption, intelligence and security services reforms, and public administration reforms. Our goal is to make visible progress in domestic reforms towards the end of this presidency, and we expect EU member states to adopt a political decision and set June 2019 as a date for opening accession negotiations. Therefore, we highly appreciate the fact that integration of the Western Balkans into the European Union is among the priorities of the Romanian presidency. This sent a strong signal to the region that the accession process remains to be merit-based. If the country delivers, US delivers as well. A stable Balkans means a stable Europe. We are ready to continue with the development of the bilateral and multilateral relations in the region and further through inclusiveness, and we have done so far. We believe in a common European future, and I assure you that we are not quitting that goal. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And let me give the floor to Mr. Jean Bizet, the Senate of France. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Permettez-moi tout d'abord de saluer Anna Birschall, lui souhaiter mes meilleurs vœux.
Please allow me to congratulate Romania on the occasion of the first presidency of the European Council. There's a bleak context taking into account the no deal with the United Kingdom and the uncertainties, and it will also be marked by the election of a new European Parliament. It's an important moment for us and for the 5 years to come. However, we cannot ignore the trends of opinion which challenge or put under attack European values. Mr. Timmermans affirmed or stated that the stake of these elections is the soul of the European Union, and I fully agree to his statement. In this context, the priorities which you mentioned for your presidency are feature very high. The first priority, that referring to growth, competitiveness and cohesion, that is a strategic priority. The conclusion of the multi-annual financial framework for the future period must enshrine a mechanism adequate for the cohesion policy that we will tackle in the following session, because it is an important and an essentially important instrument for growth. There cannot be any growth unless we take into account the digital nature, the increasingly digital character of the European economy, and the artificial intelligence, which is more and more necessary. We support providing more security in Europe and the fight against terrorism, as you say. These must adjust to those issues related to cybercrime. At the same time, the long-term dossier of migration will continue to feature as an important aspect. Besides strengthening Frontex and Coast Guard Agency, we need to strengthen and support the cooperation with the states of origin and of transit. That is why the projects proposed by President Juncker to develop and strengthen investment in Africa must be implemented as soon as possible. As a world power, the European Union must continue to negotiate free trade deals. At the same time, the European Union must convince to make the WTO alive again and to make out of the free trade a fair and just trade. Moreover, the European project values must be reaffirmed. It's one of our priorities and we want to salute you for it. The European Union is more than a market and a conglomerate of individuals. It is grounded on respect, solidarity and tolerance. They mark what the European citizenship must mean. Thank you very much.
For plenary session to Mr. Muhammed Fatih Toprak from the Grand National Assembly of Turkey. Excuse me, I think you have to push the button. Yeah. Would you be so kind to start from the very beginning, because we couldn't hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Chair, dear colleagues, I would like to congratulate Romania's EU Council presidency and would like to conclude by thanking Romania for this meeting. Membership to EU is our strategic priority. We expect your strong support during Romania's EU Council presidency. We value the dialogue and cooperation mechanisms with EU and a wide range of areas such as foreign policy, migration, counterterrorism, energy, economy and transport. However, these cooperation mechanisms or any kind of special partnership model cannot substitute our accession process. The accession process remains the contractual basis of relationship. Now that we are leaving behind the traumatic period of 15 July, we would like to focus on how we can improve our relation with the EU and revitalize the reform process in Turkey. In this perspective, after a 3-year break, we gathered the Reform Action Group (RAG) on 29 August and 11 December 2018. After these meetings, we accelerated the reform process by having started an intensive work on judiciary and human rights issues and the visa liberalization for the 6 remaining benchmarks. The updated judicial reform strategy will be our roadmap in the area of judiciary and enable us to make progress in many important areas. Turkey attaches great importance to update of customs union, opening of new chapters. On migration issues, Turkey has done its share under framework of 18 March agreement. We expect the EU to deliver its promises as well. The migration crisis is not over yet, and our cooperation with the EU should continue. Turkey-EU high-level political dialogue meeting held on 22 November 2018 in Ankara. The joint statement issued after the meeting had a very positive effect. This kind of efforts are necessary to give momentum to our reform process and encourage our institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. And from the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Ms. Arzu Erdem.
Thank you very much, dear Chair. Dear colleagues, as you know, Turkey and the European Union countries have big relations and deep relations coming from the past, and it will be a further cooperation of human rights and business and all areas. It's very important to create an European Union with together Turkey, and it's important for us, the new written report, the draft report, there is a word like suspension of the accessions. So that's really very, very hard, and we ask for the support of our friends, of our European friends, to support Turkey, and the report will be voted, as you know, in March, to use another word for that, because I can here say that the first page of the newspapers in Turkey will be after the vote, and after that word, the negotiations will be cut by European Union, and that's unacceptable for us. We will go on with the relations with European Union. We will handle. We have to do that. We have problems together. One of these are the, as you know, the refugee problem and the refugee issue, and also the economics. We have to work together on that issues. On migration issues, Turkey has done its best, as you know, and this problem is not only Turkey's problem, and it's the Middle East, the problematic in Middle East is firstly affecting maybe Turkey, but the problem over there is also affecting the European Union countries. So we have to be together. There is no other choice for us, and there is no other choice for the European Union countries also, I think. And we are close friends. We will be in future close friends also. And it's very important for us to open the chapters 23 and 24. These are the issues where European Union countries have some problems to say. That's okay. We are working on that. We had really big problems with terrorism organization in our country. As you know, PKK, FETÖ, the other terrorism organizations, these are all, we are in fight with all of them. So it's very important to work together on that issue also. And if we open the chapters 23 and 24, if you will open the chapters 23 and 24, we will work more. That will be a push in the areas, human rights and the other rights. So once again, Turkey needs the support of the European Union countries all to come in the Union. We are waiting for that for 55 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me give the floor to Mr. Joško Klisović from the Parliament of Croatia. Distinguished colleague, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Let me at the very beginning thank Mrs. Ana Birchal, Deputy Prime Minister, for a very clear presentation of Romania's priorities. I really enjoyed listening to her. And I'm very satisfied by the fact that Romanian presidency set cohesion policy and ensuring convergence amongst EU member states and European regions as one of its main priorities. I have just one message for today's meeting, and that is, only if cohesion policy delivers satisfactory results in the terms of better convergence, we will achieve stronger unity and consolidation within the European Union, and consequently avoid the multi-speed European Union. Multi-speed EU means that some will feel equal within such a union, and some will feel even more equal within such a union. That scenario we want to avoid. At least Croatia wants to avoid. In May, here in Romania, the summit of heads of states and governments is scheduled to take place. The future of the EU will be debated and decided upon. I urge our leaders not to neglect cohesion policy and the need to better convergence while deciding upon the course of action the EU will take in forthcoming period. The results of cohesion policy and genuine dedication to cohesion policy will decisively shape our future. Cohesion should honestly be our common value. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague, and let me invite to address our session Ms. Tamar Kulordova from the Parliament of Georgia.
Dear colleagues, of course it is a great honor to be here at this meeting. I would like to also greet Vice Prime Minister, who has so comprehensively presented the priorities of Romania. I wish Romania all the success in implementing those very ambitious goals and priorities, which stand and hold for not only a strong and united Europe, but also for the countries around the EU that aspire to become members of the Union at one point. And I certainly represent here one of such countries, Georgia, Eastern Partnership country, which is recognized as the frontrunner of the Eastern Partnership. It is, of course, our strategic, most important also priority, like some of my other colleagues have also used this phrase already, to become closer to EU, and we do use all instruments at our hand to do that. We have the association agreement since 2014. We have deep and comprehensive free trade area, visa-free travel, and all that is very appreciated, and that has become possible due to a very substantial assistance also from the European Union. Now, why do I mention that? Because one of the issues that you have raised is, of course, the ongoing discussion on the multi-annual financial framework. And of course, in this meeting, most interest is dedicated to how this is going to work to ensure convergence. But also it has an aspect which is important for us, for the countries outside the EU, because one aspect of it is EU's foreign assistance. And one of the approaches that has been put forward is to merge all the external financial instruments into one instrument. And we are here, and I am here to once again highlight political risks associated to this decision. We come from a very challenging region, as you know, and we believe that this kind of move will and might send wrong signals to those that are interested in spreading and feeding Euroscepticism and anti-Western propaganda. And once again, we very much hope that in these discussions between various EU institutions, Romania and the member states of the European Union will support us in our pledge to make sure that there is a specific dedicated instrument for the associated countries such as Georgia, Moldova and Ukraine that aspire to become members of the EU. Of course, the challenge of merging is that these countries that are going to be addressed with this one big global financing instrument, of course they are facing different kinds of challenges and they have different kinds of goals vis-à-vis the EU as well. So I know I have very little time because I've tried to shrink this message into the few words. Once again, thank you very much for hosting and wishing all the success to Romania.
Thank you very much for your kind words. We still have 5 colleagues who are to address us. I repeat the fact that we'll go a little beyond the schedule, but we'll cope with later on. Let me do another thing, and I want to salute the presence here of another member of the government, Mr. Ili, and colleagues of ours from the European Affairs Committee who wanted to be with us today, and I want to thank them for their interest and for their support in this period. Now let me give the floor to Ms. Maria Soraya Rodriguez from Cortes Generales, Spain.
Merci. Bonjour à tous. Pour commencer, je tiens à féliciter la Roumanie pour
First of all, I would like to congratulate Romania for having the presidency of the European Council, and I wish you good luck in these coming 6 months. Of course, during the Romanian presidency, we'll have extremely important events, the European elections, Brexit, the new multi-annual financial framework. If we are talking about if we don't have an extension of the deadline in March, we will have Brexit after a long process of negotiations that will give some important lessons for the future. We hope that we will reach an agreement. The lack of such agreement takes us nowhere for all the European citizens. The European institutions and the national governments are not the only responsibles for the future of Europe. The responsibility comes fundamentally also to the citizens. For the next European elections, the citizens will decide which will be the future of the European Union. That's why these elections are fundamental for the construction of the European Union. As a consequence, the Romanian presidency has to guarantee a process, an honest process, and free of fake news and of any kind of requests from third countries. During this period, the European Union has to focus on the final negotiation of the budget for the next multi-annual financial framework, 2021-2027. This project is the expression of the European political view for the next years. In consequence, it should allow us to respond to the new needs of the digital revolution and of the social revolution. In conclusion, once again, I can state that the security policies and migration ones figure together among the priorities of the Romanian presidency. As I have said, I do not share this approach. Immigrants affect our security, and I believe that the way of working together for the security of our citizens has to help us to advance with real measures and actions in order to fight against racism, xenophobia, intolerance, and in order to advance in a common policy regarding migration.
Let me give the floor to Mr. Cristian Vigenin, National Assembly of Bulgaria. Cristian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tilver, Ms. Crețu, Ms. Birchal. I would like to congratulate you with the first Romanian presidency of the Council. We wish you support, and you can count on our support and solidarity. The National Assembly of Bulgaria supports the priorities of the Romanian presidency. We commend the motto of the presidency on cohesion as a common European value, and especially the focus on convergence, both on its internal dimension as economic and social convergence, and on its external political dimension with a view of keeping the security and the unity of the European Union. We highlight the importance of further developing the relations with our neighboring regions. In this respect, we appreciate the sustained efforts on behalf of the Austrian presidency and the commitment by the Romanian presidency to keep the focus on enhancing the European perspective of the Western Balkans. This should be done by building on the momentum achieved in 2018 and on the basis on individual achievements of aspirant countries and strict conditionality. Migration continues to be an issue of utmost concern. The work on the reform of the common European asylum system should be continued with the view of achieving a comprehensive solution as soon as possible by striking the right balance between solidarity and responsibility. Enhancing the stability and prosperity of the countries of the Eastern Partnership is of key importance to us. The 10th anniversary of the launch of the initiative provides the opportunity of assessment of the results so far and for the setting up of new ambitious goals, keeping in mind that the scope of the future cooperation will deepen on the visions and needs of our partners as well as on the pace and quality of reforms. The negotiations on the next multi-annual financial framework are of crucial importance for the future of the EU and for defining the new strategic agenda. An ambitious EU needs an ambitious budget. The results of the negotiations should reaffirm the unity of the EU and lay down the basis for a positive agenda for its future development. Finally, we expect that the Romanian presidency will continue to promote the development of the EU Danube strategy, which is in the process of becoming one of the highly focused regional policies of the Union and provides leverage to further boost the economic, social and ecologically sustainable development of the participating countries. We hope that the fact that this is the third consecutive Danube presidency will help you in this endeavor. We will work closely together to achieve tangible results on all priority topics of the European agenda with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague. And let me give the floor to Mr. Gen Polo from the Parliament of Albania.
Chairman, first my thanks to you and to the Romanian Parliament for the hospitality provided. I wish your country a successful EU presidency. We look forward to the various challenges that the EU will face during this semester and to the implementation of the President's set priorities. The EU elections this June will relevantly define the continent's course for the next years. Brexit, the multi-annual budget, borders and immigration will keep many people busy. However, as it was stressed today, without the whole Southeastern Europe, the EU will not be complete. I'm glad that the enlargement features among the Romanian presidency priorities. It has been conspicuously under the previous ones, the Austrian and the Bulgarian. There are many challenges facing the Western Balkan countries, including Albania. Upholding and consolidating the rule of law is primary among them, along fighting corruption and criminality. Not doing so nurtures autocracy and open cracks to undesired foreign influences. The Western Balkan strategy presented by the Commission a year ago focused on these two, mainly. Hopefully, they will lend a more actively helping hand. Success in it would contribute to further steps, such as opening the accession negotiations for Albania and Macedonia this year. Looking at the region, we support the constructive dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia, leading hopefully to mutual official recognition, opening the path to their EU full integration. Also, hopefully, this will exclude some very un-European recipe, like moving borders, concession of populations and territories, and mono-ethnic societies. We also look forward to a better interaction between COSAC and COSAC, as it was discussed earlier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Darij Krajčić from the National Assembly of Slovenia.
Dear Chair, dear colleagues, Slovenia appreciate and support very much the priorities which were chosen by Romania, and they are also in accordance with the strategic agenda.
Could you speak closer to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Thank you. To strategic agenda and 18 months of the program of Troika. We also support their activities in the Western Balkan. The Western Balkan is a very important area for our country. You know, we are on the so-called migration path of Balkan, and the security in this area is of essential for Slovenia. We support Macedonia in their path to NATO and other associations of Europe. Recently, our delegation visited Macedonia and their political organization there to support their effort. It is a very hard task for them, and I have to tell you that the protocol on joining Macedonia into NATO has just been adopted in our parliament. Migration are the problems in this time that is a huge challenge, and we have to deal with it with all respect. Also, the rules of Schengen have to be supported, and that is the idea that we have to live together in Schengen rules. We are looking forward to the results of Romanian presidency. The agenda is very well, but the results we will see on our meeting on June. At the end, I still have a time for one sentence on Brexit. What will happen a day after Brexit? I can tell you that we will take a cup of coffee and our life will continue. Thanks very much for the organization of this meeting, and I can say I'm second time now in Romania, but first time in this huge hall, and I'm very happy to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me give the floor to Mr. Fort van Oosten, House of Representatives of the Netherlands.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. And of course, thank you for Madam Birschal for her explanation of the Romanian presidency. First of all, I can only wish you best of luck because your presidency comes in exciting times, and I don't think, like my colleague from Slovenia, a cup of coffee will be enough. I mean, the Brexit and the developments with regard to the Brexit is followed closely by the Dutch delegation, by the Dutch Parliament, by the Dutch government, because the United Kingdom is a very important partner of us and for us now, and it will continue to be even if we had a Brexit. Anyway, my question is about something completely different, about the cohesion funds and the cohesion policy. And I don't know whether there's still time for it to answer, but I was wondering what efforts the Romanian presidency will do with respect to poverty reduction. Because as I'm informed correctly, the cohesion funds are also meant to reduce poverty and to develop regions. And I was wondering whether you could elaborate somewhat more on the efforts that will be undertaken for coming months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Welle Yüksel, House of Representatives of Belgium. And this was the last speaker. Then I invite Ms. Birschal to make the final comments within 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The EU has faced with many problems, but I will speak about one of them. Deputy Prime Minister spoke about free elections in May for the European Parliament. The NATO Parliamentary Assembly expressed in November its concern about Russian interference in the democratic decision-making process, for instance, in the US presidential elections in 2016. The Brexit referendum in the United Kingdom was another example. In our neighboring country, the Netherlands, we can also witness how through the distribution of fake news, public opinion is being influenced. We have also seen many examples where social media are polarized to influence elections and or referendums. NATO condemns any foreign attempt to undermine democracy through interference in the electoral process. We agreed on a resolution in which we demand rules and measures in the pre-election period to ensure a safe and free election process. But we want to go further. We want NATO and EU partners to take appropriate security measures and make rules for the post-election period. And here comes my question, rules for social media. Because this is not only important for the elections of the European Parliament in May, but also for elections in member states. The interference and influence of foreign powers of public opinion is particularly evident on social media. The damage that so-called internet trolls can cause is worrying. Hence, I am an advocate of imposing rules and social media companies to make foreign interference impossible to secure our democracies. My question is, what can the Romanian presidency and the EU do more on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your contributions and for your addressing in the plenary session. And now I invite Vice Prime Minister Ana Birchel to answer or to make the final comments. The floor is yours, distinguished colleague.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I should start by thanking all and each of you for the support given to our priorities. It's very much appreciated, and I want to thank you for all the advice you've been giving us today, and I'm sure that towards the end of the COSAC meeting will be even more advice, and from here until the end of our presidency, all of them are, I can assure you, are very well received and taken into consideration. If I'm missing somebody of not answering given the short time, I promise you to retake it and answer when I'm back at 1 o'clock. And I should start with the last question from our friend from Belgium. Yes, that's a very important topic. I think it's incredibly important for all and each of us, not just from the EU perspective, but from the national perspectives as well. And I was told that at 1 o'clock, one of the discussion will be about the European election, and obviously all the elections should be free of any interference, and it should be just, the result should be just the will of the citizens and their right to vote and their choice. But I think we should talk a little bit about that a little bit later. On Brexit, Lord Whitty, well, if I should say on a personal note, using a little bit of British humor, you guys gave us a lot of headaches. Let's see what's happening tonight and today with the outcome, but I'm telling you from the very beginning, we always advocated that whatever is going to happen after May 29, we will fashion a deal that will be having UK as close as possible to the EU, but it takes two to tango, as we always say. So for us, from our point of view, you know, let's pause that discussion until we see what's happening today. But one important issue that we all need to look after is the rights of our citizens in Britain and the rights of the British citizens in our respective countries. And we talk about their future, their lives, and certainty. I think it's important. So respecting their rights, it's a paramount of our discussions, and it's been among our discussions so far. So with Brexit, obviously it's one of our priorities. I didn't mention it explicitly because you know, that was a given. But let's see what's happening after today. I want to say hello to our friends from Turkey and commend you for your efforts and your share in dealing with the migration, this very important issue that has been challenging for all of us. And your comments and your intervention was loud and clear, so was taken into consideration. Richard from Hungary and all the other friends that were talking about cohesion. Yes, cohesion and common agriculture policy. I think those are the two examples, best examples of the investment policies that always been result orientated. And if I just talk, give one example, reducing the disparities between various regions, not just within one country or one member state, but within the European Union member states. I think this has been proven, and from our point of view, that's why we put it as a priority, and I'm banking and I'm asking on all your help. Yes, we do have a challenge with Brexit or with on the budget, on the EU budget, but those policies that has been proven to be very successful should not be sacrificed. And I'm looking to Maria from Spain. Even now Spain is becoming a donor. I remember and I recall with great pleasure the discussions that we had on a bilateral level and on the plenary, even in this type of format, when it was showed that Spain, but I'm not just speaking on Spain, I'm just giving an example. Spain, who is becoming now a donor, but has been a hugely beneficiary of those two policies. So yes, we are going to strongly promote those policies, because those policies have been proven to be the best investment policies in terms of result-orientated. Yes, Eastern Partnership, and Tamar, I salute you and welcome back to Romania. Obviously, I didn't mention Georgia, Ukraine, and Republic of Moldova, but Eastern Partnership is very important, given, and here I want to say thank you to the Bulgarian presidency and Austrian presidency for the work that they've been done on Western Balkans. We are, we are banking on their work, and I can assure you that we are determined to take it even further. We have an important momentum this year with the 10-year anniversary of the Eastern Partnership, and I think Western Balkans should be continue to be on the agenda, because somebody said it very clearly, one of our colleagues, and I'm rushing to look through my notes because I know that Angel is very particular about timing. I am a member of the European Affairs Committee, so I know how he is dealing inside. It was said that when Western Balkans are secured, the whole Europe is secured, and I think this is a very, very good line. Jean, dear friend from France, thank you for all your comments, thank you for all your advice. Yes, the free trade deals, being fair and just trade, I think are the key words, along with all the other comments that you made about having the strategic approach and the priorities approach. And I very much look forward to have a few words with you, maybe while you are here as well, because it's very important to hear all of you and all of your concerns. Jasko from Croatia, again, cohesion, yes, it's as I said earlier, but you said it very well. Better cohesion, it's actually not just not to be neglected, but if we have better cohesion, I think we will be in better places as a European Union. Our friends from Serbia, again, I can assure you, and from Macedonia and all the other friends that intervene, talking about the Western Balkans and the Eastern Partnership, I can assure you that, as I said earlier, this is very important, not just for us as presidency, but I think it's important for Europe. Food van Oosten, yes, I think reducing poverty, my dear friend, should not be just one of the priorities of Romania during our presidency, but I think it should be one of the priorities for all and each of us every single day. And I think the cohesion, policies is, to one respect, that was one of the objectives that this policy had when it was set up, and I think as a result it's been proven to be successful. So yes, reducing poverty, it is a priority for us, but I think it should be a priority for Europe as well, and that's why we look at the cohesion as a social but economic, from the social point of view, but economic point of view as well. And maybe later on we can elaborate a little bit more. I think I went through all my notes. If I missed somebody, one final note. Aaron, yes, we have lots of disagreements. Maybe, I wouldn't say disagreements, maybe, you know, different point of view, but that's why this COSAC format is one of the best, where we can hear each other and listen to each other, and that's why the parliamentary aspect of the presidency is so important. But I will close by saying that the debate about the future of Europe, and here we have the summit coming up in Sibiu, and I commend you and I invite all of you to contribute to the summit. I think when we talk about the future of Europe, we should look at regaining the trust at 3 levels, and that's my humble opinion based on what I observed over the years, regaining the trust in the viability of the European project. And here, from that point of view, you are in a country that is very pro-European, probably one of the most pro-European countries, but regaining the trust between and among the member states, and regaining the trust between Brussels and the member states. I think that should be one of the pillars when we talk about the future of Europe. But it's an important summit, and I'm very proud that during our presidency and in my country we will have such an important debate. But for that debate to be a real success in real terms, we all need to contribute to that. So with that in mind, again, thank you, and we'll talk a little bit later more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Prime Minister. Thank you for your comments. And thank you all for understanding that because we wanted to have as many as possible addressing our meeting, we used more minutes than we were supposed to. Now I invite you for the family photo, which will be taken here in the lobby in front of the COSAC hall, and for the coffee break, and we'll meet here at 5 minutes to 12. Thank you very much once again for accepting to have as many speakers as we had. Thank you very much.